Hey guys, welcome to episode 49 of the Strength System podcast. This is Varun here as always, and I'm here with Chirag. What's up, Chirag?
What's up, Varun?
Chirag and his big mop of hair. It's been growing steadily during the lockdown, shows no signs of stopping.
Progressive overload, Varun.
Yeah, I know. So we're going to come back to that theme through this podcast. So as you might have guessed from the title, we are going to talk about beginners today. So, with the lockdown, I feel like more people are now conscious of their health, right? Obviously, you don't want to get sick from COVID, but at a more basic level, I think the fact that people are stuck at home has also made them realize that, I need a certain amount of activity and I feel myself, I'm losing fitness. I think that's a common experience for a lot of people, right? And we've had a lot of inquiries where people want to get into training of some sort, and they say, I want to start getting fit, but they don't know what that entails or what that involves. So we thought this podcast would be a good way to kind of get into that. Maybe we can start by defining some terms. What is a beginner? Do you want to give that a shot?
Yeah. So I think when we're talking about beginner here, maybe in terms of fitness, or are we talking about in terms of the weight room, right? So
Yeah.
for the purposes of this episode, maybe we're going to keep ourselves to the weight room. So in terms of training, in terms of strength training, in terms of hitting the gym, who is a beginner, right? So someone who is not ever lifted weights in their life before, that's one. On the one end, that's a beginner. But also someone who has maybe trained in the past, like for example, back in 2013 when I started lifting, I took a break for like good 3-4 years, and then I started lifting again. So I had forgotten all the movements, so I lifted, I learned the movements, and I forgot, so I was back to being a beginner. So haven't lifted in a while, I would still be a beginner.
Yeah, I think lots of people have just gone to the gym once, messed around with all the machines, played with the pec deck, and maybe they went with their elder brother or friend or somebody, and it's kind of like an initiation rite, I think. But yeah, just because you've done it once or twice, if you've not done it consistently, it doesn't really. You're still a beginner. So if you haven't trained consistently, that's probably applies to you. So I think it's important here to distinguish between different types of fitness, right? So you might be somebody who's been running for a few months or a year or years. You might be somebody who's done calisthenics workouts of some sort. Maybe you've just been doing push-ups, squats with body weight. Maybe you've done Zumba or Pilates or something, which is fine because it's obviously much better than being sedentary. Doing any form of activity is great, but that doesn't necessarily equip you to be any better prepared for weight training. I think when you first get into a proper weight training program, you are still a beginner, and for reasons we're going to discuss later, it's going to be better to treat yourself as such and start out a little bit maybe easier than you might think you need to start out with. Maybe from here we can jump to what our experience was as beginners, right? So I think, do you want to go first? Because you had like a more interesting story than me.
Sure, definitely. So I always got into fitness because I liked playing sports. I was in basketball and all of that. But the real reason why I got into lifting weights was because in college, when I tried to make the basketball team, I was too small. I got pushed around more than the basketball on the court. So I knew I had to get bigger, I had to get stronger, which is why I started training. And initially, I didn't know what to do. I'd gone to the gym, and they were like, everyone else was bigger than me, lifting weights that I'd never heard of before. And there were all different kinds of machines, and I didn't know really what to do. So what I would do is I'd just go to every machine, make sure I used it at least once to get benefits from all of the machines. And eventually, I trained too hard. I trained like 6 days a week, sometimes in the morning, cardio in the evening. I would be at the gym all day, and then I couldn't do it anymore. I stopped, and then I moved on to running, went on to swimming, took a break from training. And I really didn't like it until I came to when I started training here at Strength System. That's when I realized like what proper training is like, and that's when I really became consistent with my training.
Right. Yeah, I think my experience is like less exciting because I had read a lot about barbell training and stuff before I started, and I messed around with some calisthenics and body weight stuff before, so I was not completely new to like training. But yeah, I think my first exposure to weight training was like doing a program called Starting Strength. So at least I did squat, bench, deadlift, and overhead presses, and yeah, it was kind of boring, but I guess it served me well in the long run. So I think the pattern of or your introduction to weight training, right? I think it's quite revealing. I think it's quite common, and that's probably how most people first really get into fitness. So should we jump from here, I think, to talking about what some common mistakes or missteps we see when people first start training, right?
Yeah.
So just using your story as an example, not that you did anything wrong, but I
Trust
think
me, I did a lot of things that were wrong looking back.
I think the first thing is when you go to the gym, it's kind of like an alien environment, right? You
Yeah.
feel like you don't really belong, and obviously, if people have been there for a while, they're going to be much bigger, they're going to be stronger, they're going to be lifting weights that look big, which you later find out are not really particularly impressive.
Yeah.
But it can be like a cult kind of environment where you don't feel like you belong.
True.
And I think that itself scares away so many people from even entering the gym. I mean, obviously at Strength System we do a great job, but not every gym is like that, right?
Yeah.
In being welcoming to new people. And I think the first thing is just like, it doesn't really matter if people look at you funny or you're not doing things right. I think everybody really starts out at that point, right? Nobody enters and knows exactly what to do. And I think just keeping that in the back of your mind itself is pretty helpful. Do you have any other thoughts on like how that first adjusting to the gym can be made a little bit easier?
Yeah, definitely. Like, just to go based on my experience as a beginner when I first started out. So initially, I didn't know what to do. So I would just like talk. I was training at a commercial gym, and I got a membership for an entire year. So I could use any equipment I wanted to, do how many ever sets and reps I wanted to. But the point was, I didn't know how to use the equipment. I didn't know what to do. So, and I was too afraid to ask the trainers because I was worried they would judge me. But I didn't realize that all I had to do was just ask for help, right? And there are people who are willing to help. And then the next thing was, so I looked on the internet. I started searching. I was like, what can I do? What is the program that I need to do to get stronger, get bigger? And that's also when I think the celebrity Hrithik Roshan was undergoing some transformation. He got a trainer from the US, kept him at his house for a good 2 months, did some crazy intense program and got jacked. And I wanted to be like that as well. So, and that trainer had just put out a program on the internet, some 12-week program. And I thought I'll try that out. And the first day, I think it had me do like some 100 reps of leg presses, like as the first move. And I think before that I hadn't like ever done the leg press. And after I'd finished that, I couldn't move. I couldn't walk.
Yeah,
like I think they had like pulled me out of the leg press or something. I was dead, right? So that wasn't really appropriate for me. And I was just like lying down in a pool of sweat. I was trying out different kinds of equipment. But all I had to do really was just ask people for help. And I think that's where we could start off. And realizing that you don't have to go all in. You don't have to train like 6 days a week, morning and evening. You don't have to use every equipment in the gym to get optimal training.
Yeah, I think that celebrity workout thing is so popular. I mean, it's either superhero workouts, or whatever LeBron or Nadal or I don't know, whoever your sports star of choice is. And I mean, they train for a particular sport, or even somebody like a movie star, they also have other things working for them, right? They have unlimited food. They probably have a chef cooking all their meals. So whether their workouts are good or not, they're probably going to see results. So yeah, especially as a beginner, jumping into that probably isn't the best idea, even though a lot of popular websites do sell it as such. Try, I don't know, Chris Hemsworth's Thor program. I don't know, was he Thor or was the other Hemsworth Thor? But whoever it was. It's really common, and it's marketed to beginners.
Yeah.
And I think that's often not really appropriate.
It's always marketed in a way where it's like, you are doing something that they are not, they are doing something that you are not doing, which is why you're not seeing gains. As well, like there are massive, crazy training secrets that only those special trainers know, which is why you need to do their specific program to see results.
And you also alluded to another point which is very common with us, where somebody wants to make fitness a part of their life, and they kind of don't consider their existing routine and how they can realistically fit a 1 hour workout 3 to 4 days a week within it. And they're like, okay, I normally never wake up before 8 a.m. I've never seen the sun rise, but I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock, hit the gym at 6, crush my workout, do that like 5 days a week, and what could go wrong? And it's really common, and even folks who come in for the first time here at Strength System, we see that, and sometimes we might have to sit down with them and say, hey, it's great that you're so eager, but have you considered whether this is realistic for you? Because when you actually have to wake up and your alarm blares at like 5 o'clock in the morning, how likely are you to actually crawl out of bed and make it to the gym? It's unlikely. And even if you do it the first time around, second time around, what if you have a stressful day at work? You sleep late, then you're probably going to miss the gym the next day, and it's probably going to feed into that cycle. So I think honestly assessing your current routine and seeing where you can fit fitness in the least obtrusively is probably something that most beginners don't do, which I think we wish they'd do a little bit more frequently.
Yeah, that was definitely one thing that I wish I knew, that this idea of less is more. You don't have to go all in. You can get the same results. Like, I wish someone told me that the lesser you train, the lesser effort you put in to get the same amount of results, that is good training. Right?
Yeah.
So if you can do it with 3 days a week, get the same results, that is better than training 5 days a week, all in, all out.
Yeah, I think popular messaging of fitness is always that, no pain, no gain, beast mode. And you kind of assume that, okay, if I have to see results, I have to push myself to the point where I'm almost breaking or I'm breaking. And it's part of the learning process as a beginner, I think, is finding where you lie on that spectrum. Because I think some people psychologically, they do well with pushing themselves fairly hard in the workout. But for most people, I think they benefit by starting out a little bit easier than they might think they need to. I think our experience just working with so many people has been that. It's almost like you're kind of holding them back slightly to begin with, but that usually ends up paying off in the long run.
Yeah. And another thing is that I wish someone told me that there is no magic program, there is no magic exercise that's going to help you see the gains. It's the principles that are more important of training, right? So starting off too easy and making slight increases in progress or in difficulty challenging level every week will help you see progress. At the same time, it's not that progress is linear. It's not like you start benching today, you add 1 pound every week or 1 kilo, and by the end of the year you have like a 300 kilo bench press. It doesn't work like that. But understanding that there are certain training principles and there is no magic program is something that I feel all beginners should know.
Yeah. So let's dig into those principles a little bit. If we could just put down a few. I mean, the first one, obviously, you said maybe start a little bit easier than you think. And I think the second one also is overload, right? So do a little bit more than you did whenever you can. Like you said, it may not always happen, but especially when you're a beginner, you can kind of ride that wave for a fairly long time. And adding just small jumps in weight or reps, or sometimes adding one more set, will actually go a really, really long way. And I think the third principle that would follow from that is track your workouts, because this is really simple. It doesn't really matter what program you're doing. You could even be doing Chris Hemsworth's 4-week shred, but if you're doing the exact same reps and weight on week 4 as you're doing on week 1, you probably are shortchanging your progress. Much better idea is just take a notebook or your phone, just literally write down whatever you've done and just try and beat that the next week. And it sounds really simple, but most people don't do it, and it's really the simplest way to actually see progress. Just like note stuff down.
Yeah.
I think that would be number 3 for me. Do you have a fourth one?
I would say not really a principle as such, but at the end of the day, even if you train hard, even if you train like 3 months in a row, you go all in, you finish this program, you look really jacked, does training stop there? Right? Sometimes you feel burnt out, you take a break, and then you lose all the gains that you got from training. So what I'm trying to say is that consistency and enjoyment of training is really important, because it doesn't matter what kind of program you do, it doesn't matter what kind of results you get. If you're not going to train consistently over long duration, over a period of years, and if you're not going to enjoy training, it's like Warren said, it's going to shortchange you in the long run.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And probably when you're starting out, your motivation is going to be high, right? Maybe you have a goal in your mind of I want to lose 5 kilos, or I want to fit this size of pants, or whatever it is. And it's easy, I think, when you first start out. And progress also is more visible, obviously, when you're first training. But like you said, when you hit that first goal, you're really happy. You're 3-4 months into your training journey. We often see that people just kind of stop. It peters out because, what next?
Yeah.
And I think, obviously this is something that only happens with more experience as you train more. You kind of figure out what your niche is. But finding the aspects of training that you really enjoy, and I think making that a part of your routine going forward, right? So for instance, for me, it was always about strength. I wasn't particularly concerned about being big or having showy arms, but it was just about strength. So for me, that was what drove me to train consistently for years. For some people, it might be just hypertrophy, right? Maybe I want to get bigger, and that's fine. So your workouts will be geared a little bit more towards that. Maybe you don't like lifting super heavy, doing the power lift, which is fine. I think for other people, it might even be a skill-based thing. Maybe you like, I don't know, CrossFit. I don't, but I can see why people might like it. So you can add in a Metcon at the end of every workout. It's not going to hamper your progress, and if you actually enjoy it, you'll probably see more progress by doing conditioning work.
Definitely. Maybe just skip the burpees though, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think people like to create rules for the wrong things. And honestly, I'm if somebody's training, I'm pretty agnostic about whether they're doing CrossFit or powerlifting or anything. As long as you actually enjoy it, I think that is really key.
And that also pertains to the idea of what fitness means to you, right?
Yeah.
So you will pick the style of training that is more geared towards your goal, the more geared towards your idea of what your fit self should look like or should feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry.
Yeah. So obviously, here at Strength System, we're coaches and we coach people through this process. And it's a bit easier when you have somebody kind of guiding you, right? So we can obviously figure out exercises that work for a person, help them set goals, and kind of get them on the path to them. So what happens if somebody doesn't have a coach and you just want to work out on your own? Is that possible as a beginner? I think we have some ideas, right? You want to get us started?
Definitely. I mean, it's just when I started out at the commercial gym, I'd gone there essentially because the membership was so cheap, right? For the entire year, I didn't have to pay a coach that much. So, and I thought I could figure everything out on my own, but then I realized there were so many things that I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And I wish someone told me back then that the first most important thing would be to maybe try and understand why you're training, right? What is the purpose behind the training? If you have a goal, what is the goal? And if you understand that, managing everything, planning everything around that becomes so much easier, right? And trying to understand where fitness falls into your life, right? For you, it might, at that point in my life, it was day in and day out fitness because I had to do whatever I could to get stronger so that I could play on the basketball court. Mm-hmm. But for someone else, it could just be, for a parent, could be to keep up with the kids. For them, maybe 2 days, 3 days itself would be enough. So knowing why you want to train and where fitness falls into your lifestyle, that would be the first place to start.
True. Yeah. I think, that's something we, as a coach, we would do with somebody who's just starting out. So if you don't have access to a coach, I think that's the first real question you should ask yourself. And second, obviously, I would say from there is what program should you do or what exercises should you do? So I think in our show notes, we're going to put out just the link to a couple of free programs we have, just 4-week programs. One is just body weight and one is if you have access to dumbbells and bands. So that's obviously a good place to start. But like I said, you can actually literally pick any program that you find off the internet. I would say if it appeals to you and it sounds like something you're interested in doing, even if it's maybe not scientifically like the best program, it doesn't really matter. I think if you enjoy that or you think you will enjoy it, that would be as good a place as any to start. I think but I would say it's important to find a program. So you're not like turning up at the gym and you're like completely lost.
Yeah.
If you have like a list of, okay, today I'm going to be doing a full body workout starting out with the bench press, whatever, and you have that list in your head and written down somewhere, I think that's probably my second point. Find a program, doesn't matter what it is, and just execute it.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Right? You don't just show up to the gym and like, okay, I see this machine first, I'm going to go on this, I'm going to go on that circuit. So you know your exercises. If you don't know how to perform them, you can always like look them up on YouTube or something, or you can ask someone to help.
Yeah.
So knowing which exercise will save you time and it'll get you to where you want to go faster.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, we've already spoken about this, but it's worth repeating. Tracking. So obviously track your workouts. Like you have a notebook, write them down there. You can note them down on your phone and try and beat those numbers every week.
So we'll be like tracking down what exercises we're doing, what
Yeah.
sets, what reps, what weight we use over a period of time. But also we'll be tracking progress in other senses, right? For example, if you're looking to do like fat loss, maybe losing inches around your waist is important to you. So maybe tracking that over a period of time, tracking your body weight if that's what you're looking for. All of those things also play a role. So track your workouts and track your progress would be point number 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, that should get you started off, honestly. And like I said, as you get more comfortable with lifting and you're more accustomed to the movements, I think you will find your niche eventually, and you'll learn that you enjoy certain things more than others. So you can kind of decide where you want your training to go next. I mean, obviously my bias is towards getting stronger and, like barbell lifting, but not everybody needs to go there. But I think keeping that in the back of your head is important. Like, okay, what are my long-term goals here? Am I just looking at 3 months, or what do I want to be in like 2 years or 5 years or 10 years? I think starting to think about that when you're training and always keeping that in the back of your head is important.
Definitely. And probably the last thing I would say is that initially when you're starting out training, if you've never lifted weights in the past, the first few weeks you would spend more time learning the movements and setting a good training base upon which you can build upon which you can specialize later. Let's say you want to get... So everyone's programs will be based on similar training principles.
Yeah.
In that sense, in the first phase of training, irrespective of what your goal is.
Yeah. So I think if you start with these like few principles that we've outlined, if you've never been to a gym before, you've never weight trained before, this should honestly be like more than enough. And if I had known that, or maybe Chirag, you'd known that, probably would have made our first maybe year of lifting a lot easier.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, those programs we'll put up in the show notes. If you guys have questions, you can hit us up. We will do our best to answer them. And final plug for our newsletter. So we have a Strength System Digest. Issue 2 is coming out Monday, July the 13th. So we will be putting out, it's a fortnightly newsletter. So among other things, we will also have a Q&A section. So any related questions on fitness and health, be sure to send it to us. We will pick 2 or 3 of the best questions every week to answer in detail. So make sure you sign up for that. Link for that will be on our Instagram page.
Yeah, our newsletter looks awesome, by the way. And one last thing for beginners, if you have no idea what you're doing, you don't know where to start, you need any help at all, please send us an email, please text us on Instagram, and we'll get back to you and help you the best we can.
Yes, definitely. Awesome. So thank you guys for listening. We will see you next week.
My hair will grow longer, guys. Bye.